Former President and Chairman Vilhelmson, Excellencies, colleagues and friends of the Arctic. It is a great honor to speak here in Reykjavik at the heart of the Arctic Circle. This meeting is special because it brings together governments, researchers, civil society and businesses. Together we share knowledge, exchange ideas and shape the future of the Arctic. The Arctic and also the wider North Atlantic is not just a region. It is a crossroads. It is where the global meets the local, where world politics meets daily life, and where the problems of our time meet the chances of tomorrow. And the world itself stands at a crossroads. For decades after the Second World War, international organizations gave us a rules-based system. It was far from perfect, but it offers stability and progress, which is especially important for small nations as the Faroe Islands. With the end of the Cold War, democracy spread, globalization grew, and many societies saw more prosperity. But today, that order is under strain. In this situation, the role of the US remains important, but we also hear the clear message that Europe must take on more responsibility for its own defense and its strategic area. And so, Europe is stepping up. Yet, at this moment of uncertainty, one fact stands out. Only by recommitting to working together to international law and to dialogue across borders can we move through this crossroads. And this is where the Arctic takes on special importance. Let me bring the focus closer to home, the North Atlantic and the Arctic. The Faroe Islands are both small and large at the same time. Small in population, yes, but large in our connections. We are part of the Arctic region, we are part of the Nordic family, and as an island nation in the Nordic Atlantic, we sit directly on the ocean route between Europe and North America and between Europe and the High North. Our society is open. Our economy depends on trade with neighbors and partners far away. Our culture grows in exchange with others. This makes it essential for us to take part actively in the leadership of our region. We want to be a reliable partner in Nordic cooperation, in the Arctic Council, and in other places where sustainability, security, and shared resources are discussed. Geography alone shows our responsibility. The Faroe Islands lie where the Gulf Stream meets the cold waters of the Arctic. These currents shape our climate, support our fisheries, and remind us that the health of the oceans is the base of our way of life. With climate change, we see these systems shifting before our eyes, and we understand what is at risk. We also live at the center of the gap between Greenland and the United Kingdom, what many know as the GI-UK gap, or as we prefer to call it, the GIF-UK gap. This is not just a point on a map, it is a vital strategic passage for the Western Alliance. It is a reminder that peace and security in our waters are directly linked to peace and security in the world. That is why we place such importance on our active role in the Arctic Council and on making sure that the voices of all nations and peoples, including small island communities, are heard in shaping the Arctic's future. This commitment will be clear next year when the Faroe Islands host the main Oceans Conference in Tórshavn as part of the Kingdom of Denmark's Arctic Council chairship. The focus is on healthy humans and oceans in the Arctic. We will look at how the Arctic and North Atlantic Ocean systems work together and affect the global climate. We will consider how to use marine resources wisely in a changing environment. We will study biodiversity and ecosystem health. And we will bring together scientific knowledge and indigenous knowledge to strengthen resilience in our communities. Importantly, we will also focus on the next generation. Students and young researchers will be at the center of this effort because we need their help to solve the problems of climate change, sustainability, and peace in the Arctic. Excellencies, friends, the Arctic is often described as fragile, and it is. But it is also strong, and it is home to peoples and communities that have shown for centuries how to adapt in tough conditions. For the Faroe Islands, as for all the nations of the Arctic, the task is clear. We must work together to ensure peace, stability, and sustainable development in our shared region. At this global crossroads, and here in the Arctic Circle, the Faroe Islands stand ready to play our part through cooperation, responsibility, and commitment to protecting our oceans, our climate, and our future. Let us use this forum and the spirit of dialogue to build trust, to strengthen cooperation, and to ensure that the Arctic remains a region of peace and sustainability. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. If I can invite you to join me here. And my first question is really listening to your speech. I sensed a new tone from the Faroe Islands that you envisage a stronger role, that you intend to play a greater part in this important region of the world which you so brilliantly described, that Faroe Islands are at the crossroads. Is that the correct interpretation of your speech?
Yes, and thank you, Mr. Chairman Grimson, and thank you for inviting me again.
Yes.
My first time here was 10 years ago.
Yes.
It's always nice to be here in Hørspa and also in Reykjavik. And to the question, yes, we in the Faroe Islands think it's important that what happens in the North Atlantic and in Arctic, that the people and the governments in the North Atlantic and in the Arctic will be a part of the decisions process. And we do have a very good relationship and cooperation with the Danish government, also when it comes to defense and security in the North Atlantic area. And also we have a good cooperation with NATO and some of the members in NATO, for example, US, they are using our ports, both to submarines and vessels. And we are trying to change our role when it's come to foreign policy, that we will be a more active player in the foreign affairs.
A few years ago, when the then First Minister of Scotland was here on this stage, and I put on the screen a map which linked Scotland, the Faroe Islands, Iceland, Greenland over to the Maine in the US. And it's interesting if you look at the Icelandic shipping company Eimskip, although I'm not doing a promotion for them, they have reorganized some years ago their shipping routes on basis of that map. Because if you start looking at the economic opportunities, which you did partly in your speech, this, what I call the North Atlantic corridor, from Britain and Scotland on behalf through the Faroe Islands, Iceland, Greenland, United States, could become a very interesting economic connection. And if I interpret correctly also what you were saying, you seem to be placing the Faroe Islands in playing a more active role in all that connectivity also, looking to both sides of the Faroe Islands and also looking up north as well as to the European continent, making the Faroe Islands not perhaps a hub, but a very important location in that new North Atlantic scenario, which, by the way, you're also correct, is very important for defense and security purposes.
Yes, and perhaps it will be decided here in Iceland because Samskip and Eimskip, they have bought some of our biggest company in the Faroe Islands.
Okay.
But it's true, it's also new possibilities with the changes in Arctic. But we are also seeing a risk in the Faroe Islands, which are very important for us when it comes to our economy. Our economy is built on fishery and aquaculture, and of course, if the climate change, it will come, and if the waters around the Faroe Islands will be, perhaps the temperature will change. It can affect our fish stocks. They can move to other places in the world. And when it comes to aquaculture, we have the perfect circumstances in the Faroe Islands at the moment, and also the perfect environment. But also there, if the temperature are changing, perhaps it is not perfect anymore, and therefore it will be costly for the companies, but also for our economy, and therefore also for the people in the Faroe Islands. Therefore, the climate change is very important for the Faroe Islands.
Okay, so let's have the lights up here, and if there are questions, you raise your hands, as you all know by now. Do we have questions here from the audience? Well, while we are waiting, I also noticed that you spoke about the changes in the ocean currents, the alarming slowing down of the ocean currents. I think you are the first political leader, governmental leader, that I have heard drawing attention to this alarming news of the slowing down of the motor, the amok, as it is often called in scientific discussion. So has this now become a great concern of the Faroe Islands, what's happening to the ocean currents here in the northern part of the North Atlantic?
I think it's more concerned by, in the Faroe Islands by scientists, perhaps not politicians yet, but it is of course very, very serious, both if the Gulf Stream is going down, then it is the future in our area is not looking good, bright. But also small changes in the temperature in the waters around Faroe Islands, and also I think Iceland, can affect the fishery and also the aquaculture very much, and it can be economy crisis for our society.
No, I think you're absolutely correct. I think it is perhaps the most immediate climate threat to our part of the world, which has not really gained attention because we have been so focused about the melting of the ice and the glaciers and so on. But what's happening to this ocean conveyor belt is alarming news for all of us, including Great Britain and other parts of Northern Europe, if it continues to slow down. But I will give the hall one opportunity to put questions if we have hand. Yes, there's one there at the back, yes.
Thank you. Hi, Anna Davis. I am a Grimson Fellow, so hello, President Grimson. I'm based at Oxford University and at the Jamestown Foundation. I actually found it really interesting that there weren't a lot of questions for you immediately, because this has to do with my research with you, President Grimson, which is on how states legitimize themselves as Arctic. And you even called it the GIF UK gap to legitimize the Faroe Islands' position in the Arctic. So why are you having to do this? And what does this actually tell us about Arctic hierarchies that we kind of take for granted?
Yes, I don't know if the gap has anything to do directly with Arctic, but also the gap between UK and Iceland and Greenland. But the Faroe Islands are also in the same area, and our geography is very important strategically, also for NATO and the Western Alliance. So we are trying to call it in the Faroe Island GIF UK, but hopefully someone else will also do it in the future.
Well, thank you very much for being here with us. We are looking forward to further cooperation with the Faroe Islands, and maybe in the near future we might bring the Arctic Circle Business Forum to the Faroe Islands to talk about the extraordinary economic opportunities. But with those words, I want to thank you very much for your participation at the assembly, and thank you very much.